Hey, deserving listeners, 90 Day Fiancé, The Single Life. Let's watch.
I think he was nice, and maybe, it's American culture being touchy, and maybe I just translated it wrong.
No, absolutely not. It's not American culture to grab people who are saying, my dog is barking, that they don't want to be touched. It's not American culture to assault people physically, which is, I don't know what words to use, but what he did is not normal or acceptable in, I would hope, any culture, particularly America. Not particularly, including American culture.
I just overreact. Like any cat you see, it can bite you. I'm like an animal that needs like, shh, shh, it's okay,
Okay, if that's how she sees herself, but I wouldn't say that there was anything overreactive about it. I think she did exactly what so many people should do. And the fact that it looks a little odd, perhaps, to people is that so many women actually will succumb to that because they're taught that they're supposed to be nice and accommodating. When he crossed a serious line, he just grabbed her, and no, and especially in the context of that conversation, and the fact that they had never been intimate before, they never had that kind of contact before. It's like, no. So she did what all of us have the right to do under those circumstances, and all of us probably should do. And it's like, no, I'm not going to abide by that behavior. It's not okay.
Very rarely, honestly.
But it happens.
It's happened.
Yeah,
I've done it.
Come on, Natalie. Why didn't want this guy to get closer? Maybe just wanna peck you on the cheek. What's
Yikes. So I'm just going to assume that she doesn't know what really happened. And I could see that, I could see someone hearing, especially the way Natalie's talking about it. If I were there, I'd be like, no, you don't understand what this guy did. I don't know if it was criminal. Let's not go there. But let's just say that he was pushy physically in a way that was potentially the tip of the iceberg on that kind of thing. At the very least, a tip of the iceberg of maybe a personality trait of not respecting other people. And there were other signs of that too. Minor. Who knows what he's really like. Maybe he made a mistake, but he didn't apologize. He didn't say, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. I'm so sorry. He was like, I think she's a little I don't remember what she said, but it wasn't as apologetic as I was hoping it would be.
wrong with that?
But he sees by my body like this. I don't want.
So you want him to read your mind? People don't ask.
She literally said, I don't want you to touch me. So it wasn't reading. I think Natalie's forgetting that she was clear to him that, I'm trying to remember the exact details of that whole thing. Let's actually go back and rewatch it, because I'm going to have to go back to the previous episode.
So you can trust me, and you won't have the same type of thing like you have with any other male. Why don't you want to give me a chance?
It's not even about you. It's me. It's me. It's my problem.
Come here. Come here. Come here.
Stop! It's not fucking funny.
It is.
Yikes! Right. So it's actually maybe not as bad as I had it in my mind. It's still bad, but so I wouldn't apply the word assault. But she had said earlier in the day, because he was putting his hand on her, which was fine. Like, they're on a date. It's customary for some people to do that. I think some people might say, no, always ask, before you cross that threshold. They're in public, they're at a flea market or something, and he's putting his hand on her back, as they're walking around. So I think that you could see both sides on that. But then she said very clearly, don't touch me. I'm not ready for that. And then he's like, they have the sit down. He's like, how come you're not letting me in? She's like, it's not you, it's me. I want to go slow. And then he takes her hands and starts, and she's resisting. And then he yanks her in. Now, I think she kind of exaggerated it a little bit. It looked like, let's rewatch that.
About you. It's me. It's me. It's my problem.
Come here. Come here.
Stop! It's not fucking funny.
It is funny.
So, yeah, now if he would have said something like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. It looks like I thought you would. I thought I was trying to warm you up. Totally my bad." But that's not what he did, right? He's just like, yeah, how come? And he said some other things. I don't know if I showed that clip, but he said, I'm not going to be like any other man you've ever dated. I'm going to be different than every man you've ever dated. I think what he's trying to say is, you can trust me, but then can she trust him? So, yeah, I think that, I don't know. So anyway, let's get back to the episode.
You know, to be hugged or kissed.
I'm sorry, no.
Why?
Because
Why?
unfortunately I'm fucked up with my brain. I do not trust people, and I will not let anyone close to me unless I'm sure this person gonna be in my life.
Yeah. So, okay, I get where the friend is coming. I'm just like, look, you're going to have to open up. You're going to have to start to trust a little bit. If you're going to date, you're going to probably kiss and hug and that kind of stuff. And so loosen up a little bit. Okay. But I just don't think the friend knows the particulars. And Natalie isn't good about it. Natalie hasn't said to the friend, I specifically told him not to touch me. You could have an issue with that, fine. But I did tell him that, and he continued to touch me, and he pulled me into him in this way of trying to coerce me, which is not okay. And I'm just going to say, like, that's a red flag. It's a huge red flag, the things that he did. And if anyone ever does anything like that to you, absolutely push back. You have every right to say, do not grab me and pull me into you. Do not do that. And if he had responded like, oh, I thought I was being nice. I thought I was warming you up. I thought you wanted me to do that. I thought you just needed a little bit of a coaxing. I didn't know. I'm so sorry. Like, if he would have had a reaction like that about, okay, he knows he made it. But that's not what he did. He's like, what's wrong? Loosen up, baby. How come? Like, yeesh. So I don't think that the friend understands that. But it's interesting that Natalie is continuing to frame it as there's something wrong with her. I commend her for taking responsibility. That's good. Of just like, look, it's going to take me some time. And she has every right for that. To be like, I don't want to be touched for the first 10 dates. Totally fine. And she understands that about herself. And she's been very clear to Johnny about that. And he should have respected that.
You might be missing out on some good stuff out there.
No, I'm not a whore. Just
You
for
can't
example.
say that somebody's a whore because
I'm
they,
not.
they on a first date, they might end up in bed. So what?
If I say no, it should be enough. Why do I have to defend myself?
Yes. Now, I don't think Natalie was clear to the friend. I don't know, but I didn't hear Natalie say, you understand, earlier in the date, I said to him, do not touch me. And he pushed it, and he, not only touched me, but he grabbed me and pulled me into him. And that was frightening to me and totally not what I wanted. And obviously, I don't think the friend understands that. But at the very least, the friend should be like, okay, you want to go slow, and that's totally fine. It's upsetting on so many levels because there are so many people out there who have been assaulted in this way. They're victims of varying levels of physical coercion, shall we say. And then they go to their friends, and their friends are like, loosen up, or they don't support them. And it's a huge problem, and we're seeing an example of that right now.
I'm sorry. It's not you, it's me. Because for me, relationship is like you in a room with snakes, and you don't know who's gonna bite you. I don't want to be hurt. I don't. I'm scared. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I wish one of her friends would be like, you're fine. If you want to take it slow, it's totally your right. And if you didn't like Johnny, or you didn't like the way that how fast he was going, then that's totally your right. You have every right to the integrity of your body. You have every right to say, I don't want to be touched. You have every right to have whatever preference you have about being touched by other people. You have the right. It's okay. You don't have to, adhere to some common dating intimacy, physical intimacy course of time. You can go as slow as you want, and you're okay. I just wish someone would say that.
I'm desperate for child. I want to have child. I'm 37 years old. I might not have child at all.
Okay, well, that took a turn. So now she's like, I want to have a child. Okay, yeah, she's 37 years old. It's totally possible to have kids at that. So she wants to have a kid. Did we know that? Did we know that? I don't know if we knew that.
It's fucking sad. My mom fell for my dad a lot, and they were happy, and they got engaged, they got married, and after I came out, and she found out that he's not honest to her. You know what he did? He divorced her, and he married another woman and had a child.
Finally, we're getting some detail. Who knows? But I always wondered, like, where's the dad? Is he passed away? What happened there? So we're hearing that her father, Natalie's father, at least the narrative is, he betrayed the mother, and he had another child, got married and had another child. So yeah, I mean, who knows? But this would potentially explain and give us a conceptualization to Natalie's overreactivity to things at times, and seeing betrayal when it's not necessarily entirely there. I'm not saying that Mike was an angel, he wasn't, but I think that they triggered each other, and her, throwing the ring back, all that kind of stuff, it seems like maybe it had roots in this experience when she was growing up.
And he cut us off from her life. And I have this fucking fear when I have a child, he gonna leave us because my father left us.
Yeah, wow. I wish that someone would ask questions, or the cast members would tell us stuff like this, because how long have I been reacting to Natalie and going, it seems like there's some kind of betrayal or some kind of abandonment trauma and schema there, some kind of overreactivity that's based on, she's transferring something from the past onto Mike. And now, I don't think there's anything wrong with what she did with Johnny. Now, maybe it explains her distrust of Johnny, and her father, was the basis for that. But I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But we can definitely consider this revelation when we think about the dynamic between Mike and Natalie, for sure.
My mom raised me alone because my father betrayed her and made a lot of pain to her, and I couldn't escape because I left for years in that pain. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, so she's saying that it sounds like the father left when Natalie was just an infant, and the narrative that Natalie has internalized is the mom's narrative. Who knows what happened, obviously, between her parents. If we talk to her father would be like, you don't understand. Natalie's mom was a piece of work and abusive to me. That's why I left her. Who knows? But at the very least, the narrative that the mom was in a lot of pain, was talking about it for if I were there, I would have recommended the mom not download her idea of what happened into Natalie's mind, that she say, things didn't work out between me and your dad, and he's married now and he has another kid, and you can have a relationship with him and he's a good person, even though in your mind as the mother you're just like, I hate him. Now maybe he was a horrible person, I don't know, but usually you don't want, I could imagine it's I don't know, there's some signs of that as soon as Natalie was old enough to understand sentences, the mom would occasionally download her narrative, like, your dad, he betrayed us and he did, I don't know, but it sounds possible. And even though Natalie doesn't remember it happening, that narrative of betrayal and abandonment gets downloaded into Natalie's mind, and then the distrust and the insular nature of her relationship with her mom and the crumbling. Remember when, maybe it was the first season of Mike and Natalie, when Mike was in, is it Ukraine? Kiev? And she had a meltdown and was in the bedroom. You just imagine she's regressing to that earlier place of a man is in the house, and because Mike was in their apartment, and the feelings of a fear of abandonment, you just imagine all that stuff affecting the whole story that we've seen of Natalie, what happened to her, which is awful. And some of you may have experienced this, where a parent has abandoned your family, and it's hard to recover from that. There's a lot of healing that needs to occur there, and I wonder if Natalie has done any of that healing.
I'm very complicated, broken person who just wants family and wants to have secure and safe. But
okay, so she's using that word, broken person. Often when I hear that, I think of abandonment traumas and betrayal traumas, where people, when you're abandoned, when you're betrayed early in life, and it's a significant betrayal and abandonment, or it's ongoing, you have this internalized vision of yourself, a working model of self that involves like there's something deeply wrong with you. Otherwise, they would never abandon you. Children think they're very self-centered. They don't understand what's going on in the mind of an adult, so they can only see things from their own point of view. And children are very much in a frequent mindset of, am I a good girl or a bad girl? Am I a good child or a bad child? Does my parent approve of me right now, or are they disapproving of me right now? And so that's kind of their paradigm of how they see things. And when things go well for them, they attribute that to themselves. When people treat them well, they're like, ooh, I'm a good person. And generally speaking, that's okay, even though it might not be true. Not that the child isn't a good person, but when something good happens to them, it might not be because the child is good or bad. It's just because the child is a child. But when bad things happen, children will often filter it through that paradigm of something bad is happening to me right now. It must be because I'm bad. And then this narrative of I'm broken. The other aspect to this is if you have a lot of abandonment traumas and betrayal traumas, you'll have a lot of emotional reactivity in relationships. And you can have sort of a black and white lifestyle when it comes, or reactivity, where I'm in love and I'm not in love. I'm in love, I hate you. I'm in love, I love you, I need you, I hate you. This kind of back and forth. And over time, by the time you're 37, you might recognize that and say, like, there's something broken about me. There's, I go into these mindsets, doom, bang, bang, and I'm broken is what I will hear from people. And of course, as a therapist, I'll say there's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. You're fine. You have a working model of self and other that was based on reality in the past, but it doesn't apply to your current life. But that all of us are like that. All of us have a working model of self and a working model of others that we acquired early in life. You had to adjust. You had to realize, oh, I'm abandonable and I cannot trust other people. Maybe it's particularly men, I don't know. Because it was rational for you at the age of 3 to develop that working model. And it became a little bit solidified. We can change it, but do not consider yourself broken. There's nothing broken about you.
I'm gonna end up alone because there are so much fucking pain inside of me and I just can't.
Oh, breaks my heart. If her friends just would have said, you're fine. You told him you didn't want to be touched and he grabbed at you. We're on your side. And there's nothing, because I think for her, she, if I'm going to speculate, I think she's like, oh, I did it again. I screwed things up again. I overreacted and I told my friends what happened, although she didn't tell them the whole story. And my friends are kind of on his side. I'm all alone. I'm the weird one. I'm the broken one. I should have let him touch me. And it just breaks my heart to think that she is blaming herself. No. The two men we've seen you interact with are that one D-bag in that bar who talked about his private parts, and Johnny, who, if I were her friend, I'd be like, yeah, there's probably better fish in the sea for you. At the very least, more compatible fish in the sea. So, keep looking, and you're totally wise to have said no to this relationship. And you're okay. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken.
Unfortunately, you have to go out.
We're only saying, like, if the chemistry's there, if the moment's there, if it feels right, we're not saying do it on the first date.
I have to trust. If I trust man, he gives me feeling of like, Natalie, I love you. I will not betray you. Then I can be physical with.
Yeah, I mean, the points that the friends are making, it's like, okay, yeah, if you want to make things work and you want to have a kid, you want to get married, you're going to have to eventually open up. Okay. But how about you pay attention to her emotional state right now? She's freaking out. She feels pressured. She feels sad. She feels she's panicking. How about you say, hey, we're with you, Maybe things will work out, maybe it won't, but you have us, or I don't know, just something.
But if I don't trust him, I will not do this to myself.
She's saying that all the men are bad. She's not going to let him touch her, but yet that she wants this perfect life. I want to have a man that loves me. Yeah, I want to have a baby. Well, how are you going to get it?
Yikes. I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt and say that if she were there or she saw the footage of that scene with Johnny, she would have she'd have more sympathy for Natalie. So maybe that's just the problem. And Natalie didn't help because she's like, there's something wrong with me. And instead of like, no, you don't understand. I told him not to touch me. I wasn't like, stop touching me. He kept like touching my back and I just wasn't ready for that. So I said, hey, it's just not really what I'm looking for right now. I like you, but let's just go a little slower. And then he grabbed me and pulled me into him and I freaked out and slapped him across the face. And I was, traumatized. I think if the friend knew that, hopefully she would change her, narrative here.
She has some hard steps to overcome.
Yeah, but she seemed to be doing okay. I mean, if Johnny had, one, not grabbed her and pulled her into him, or two, apologized better, then she'd probably still be dating him. And so, it's not like Natalie created this problem. I think she's totally capable of dating.
We're rooting for those babies and their good families.
Yeah, we want to see you picking out little shoes and, little hats for your little one. And,
Thank you, I love you guys, hug. Rowan, thank you. Thank you, Yolanda. I'm sorry one more time. I love you. Okay, let's go.
Yeah, and Natalie, it breaks my heart more because Natalie keeps apologizing. I'm sorry. It's like, no, Natalie. Your friends either don't understand what's happening and they're basing their advice or their pushiness on false information, or they're just not very good at understanding, like particularly the woman, of the right that you have to not be touched if you don't want to be touched on the second date. Anyway, and the fact that you weren't like she wasn't an a-hole about it at first. If I remember right, she was just like, hey, just like, it's me, but could you, don't touch my back right now. She wasn't like, anyway, so, but she's blaming herself with her friend. And if I were there, I'd be like, no, Natalie, you're fine. Your friends just don't understand. They weren't there. I think if they were, they would understand. There's nothing wrong with you.
It does. But I have to accept it. Men come and go, but children are forever. I want a child. The way to feel this emptiness is to find a man who helps me feel safe. A man who feels me, who I will feel.
Yeah, so on one level, we are relational creatures, we're social creatures, we're attachment creatures, and when we're lonely, we feel empty on the inside, and we are compelled to have close attachments with other people. A lot of people would say, oh, there's something wrong with it. You got to be independent. And it's like, no, we're not independent creatures. We can't live independent of other humans. We can't live independent of water or food or shelter. We have basic needs, and relationships are a part of that. And we suffer when we don't have closeness and attachment. We don't need a romantic relationship per se. We just need close relationships that we can depend upon, people who we feel are in our corner, that kind of thing. So there's that angle of it. But the other angle that I could say is that she's saying, I have my past. It's not easy to talk about, and it sounds like it's still painful for her. And she's saying that she, needs to find a relationship to fill that void. And what I would say to her as well is, you also deserve to heal from the pain that you've been through. That through therapy, you can heal and maybe feel less suspicious and less pain. I mean, I wonder how much pain she feels frequently based on her early childhood experiences. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a daily thing for her. All right, well, that does it for that episode. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.